Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video, and it seems like the tuning changes are dropping a little bit earlier this week, and obviously with things getting pretty close to the deadline, these are the types of tuning adjustments that could have some big impacts on any of the specializations that you are interested in playing. And if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft and educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out. So the first class up here is Death Knight. You got a complete overhaul rework. You were looking really strong. Are they going to lay down the law with the nerf hammer, or are they going to let you live this time around? For the Deathbringer hero talent tree on Frost, Exterminate, first scythe damage increased by 30%. Reaper's Mark is being increased by 25%, which is substantial. Deathly Blows now increases the damage of Frost Strike by 15%, up from 5. Swift and Painful now grants 8% increased strength when no enemies are struck by Soul Rupture, up from 5. So a big Deathbringer buff, seemingly trying to even out the hero talent balance, which they've been doing with a few other specializations. For Riders of the Apocalypse, auto attack damage of all of the horsemen is going to be reduced by 50%. Hungering Thirst now increases the damage of diseases, Frost Strike, Frost Bane, and Death Coil by 5%, and now will also affect Necrotic Coil. So a little bit less pet damage, a little bit of a redistribution in power. For Frost Baseline, Feast of Souls now increases the damage of runic power abilities by 10%, and when you have 2 or more active horsemen, this is down from 20. So a little bit of nerf baseline, buffs towards Deathbringer. I think I'm going to make one of these tonight, honestly, and try that, because this seems like a lot. And I haven't got really a lot of playtime on Frost, so that seems like it could be really good. For Unholy, they're buffing Riders of the Apocalypse, it seems. Whitebane's Epidemic is increased by 150%. Trollbane's Ice Fury is increased by 100%. And Undeath is being increased by 50%. For Sand Lane on Unholy, Inevitable now increases the damage of diseases by up to 30%, up from 20, so a little bit more disease damage here. Infliction of Sorrow now causes Vampiric Strike to extend the duration of plagues by 3 seconds, up from 2. Seems pretty good so far for DK. For Blood, Death Strike damage is being increased by 20%. Oh god, I'm getting concerned, bro. The tanks they are giga buffing the tanks. I mean, I'm happy for you guys in dungeons and in PvE. You guys are gonna absolutely rampage, but like, I'm very concerned. Blood Boil is getting a 15% buff. Heart Strike's 20%. Death and Decay is 25%. Consumption is 30%. Bone Shield Armor is increased by 20%. Blood Fortification Stamina is increased to 35 from 30. The Apex talent Dance of Midnight now has a 100% chance to trigger. My god. This is a week for testing DK for sure. Oh my god, even more buffs. Frost across the board, Obliterate, Frost Strike, Frostbane, 15, 10, and 10% increases. This is the DK week. And Unholy even got just a buff across the board. I really like the overall buffs, taking some of the power away from the cooldowns. I feel like a lot of players, I mean, let me know if you agree with this, but like needing to press like 5 cooldowns in a row to get this optimal moment where you just get an insane amount of damage for a 5-second window and then it just falls off a cliff is just not fun, whether you're like a veteran player or a new player. Like, you just want to log in and feel like your buttons are doing something. So I feel like this is nice. This is the type of tuning that I think is good. For Demon Hunter hero talents, Eldraki Reaver, Reaver's Glaive is being reduced by 10%. Reaver's Mark now increases damage taken by 5% per stack, down from 6. So again, trying to balance out the hero talent trees for this. I haven't seen a lot of Eldraki though, at least on Havoc. So I kind of wonder if this was targeted towards the tank, but it's going to be applied to both. For Void Scarred on Devourer, they've got notes here. We are taking some power out of the Void Scarred's Metamorphosis window and shifting it into their non-Metamorphosis effects. This is really good. These are the words that we like to see. Those are the words that we like. We like that. Take it away from the cooldowns. Give it to the whole class. So I push button feel good. HP move down. Yes. Very good. Flamebound has been updated. Hungering / critical strike damage bonus increased to 125 from 50, but not in PvP. This is like the one-shot melee ability, so it's good that they caught that in PvP. The damage bonus of Metamorphosis, empowered versions of Void Blade, Hungering / and the Hunt are reduced by 20%, down from 30. And the Monster Rising now grants 15% increased intellect when outside of Metamorphosis, up from 8. That's great. Just bringing up, the floor of the damage outside of the cooldown window. Enduring Torment now increases the effectiveness of Mastery outside the Metamorphosis by 20%. up from 10. So a little bit of burst reduction. Honestly, not a huge much. Although I think most people are starting to shift away from hungering slash builds, at least in PvP, anyways. So it might not be a big deal. And then, but then baseline on Devourer, Reap is getting 75% damage buff. Consume is getting a 30% buff and generates additional soul fragment. Shattered Souls now has a 4% chance to cause a damaging spell to generate a soul fragment, down from 8, so a little bit less soul generation, but just overall beefy damage. Entropy now grants you a soul fragment every 12 seconds while in combat, up from 8, so again, less soul generation. Waste Not now causes Void Ray to have a 200% increased chance of generating a soul fragment. So putting all the generation into Void Ray, which means you'll have a choice of trying to shut down Void Rays to try and prevent them from accumulating a lot of these to increase their damage later, which is good. I like that. It's interactive gameplay. Fixed an issue causing male Devourer Demon Hunters to sometimes have a female voice during Void Metamorphosis. Okay, I mean that has nothing to do with your damage, but okay. I like this part at the top, the baseline intellect. I think that's really good. You're probably gonna be really strong, but I think that is the direction we want to be moving in for pacing of the game. That's a good direction. For Druid, Keeper of the Grove, for Boomkin, Spirit of the Thicket now increases Starfall damage by 12%, up from 8. Interesting. So Starfall buffs. For Restoration, Potent Enchantments increases Incarnation's duration by 6 seconds, up from 3. So you're going to be able to get a longer tree form with the Keeper of the Grove window, which is pretty cool. For the class overall, Matted Fur Absorption is increased by 100%. So Barkskin's a little bit stronger. I believe that's the Absorb Shield on Barkskin. And it lasts longer, up to 15 seconds. For Regrowth, 15% direct healing reduction. They just buffed a lot of off healing last week. I don't think Regrowth was in there, so a little bit of nerf there. They're buffing Wild Growth, though, by 25%. Super mana cost on that spell. This will be felt, honestly, by every Druid spec. You use Regrowth quite a bit. For Boomkin, Starfire now deals 70% of its primary damage to nearby enemies. That's a lot of cleave damage. And 10% off the top increase to Starfall, and a 5% on Star Surge. And Sunseeker and Wild Mushroom damage is increased by 10%, and Power of the Gauldron is increased by 5%. Denizen of the Dream, though, is being reduced by 15%. We're rolling back some of the previous bonus to Denizen to move that damage into your own abilities instead. Rather than letting things be RNG, giving them more direct control. I think that's good. I think that makes sense. Although Boomkin, I think, is starting to get pretty scary. Stellar Amplification, at least in PvP, but in PvE it was definitely underperforming. Stellar Amplification increases your periodic effects on the target by 16%, down from 20. So a little bit of a dot nerf for kind of like direct damage, which will feel better in Mythic Plus, and depending on where the tuning hits for this, could feel better in PvP as well. But PvP right now is extended fights, so reductions to that type of damage could be felt pretty negatively. Guardian Druids, oh no, dude, the tanks, bro. You guys are just, you're getting 10% more armor from Iron Fury. You're getting 30% more damage on Mangle, 30% on Lunar Beam, 30% on Moonfire, 30% on Red Moon. Innate Resolve now increases Frenzied Regeneration healing by 80%, though, down from 120, so a little bit less survivability. But however, Frenzied Regeneration now heals for 32% of your maximum health, down from 40. So Frenzied Regen is getting hit pretty hard here. And its cooldown, though, is being reduced to 26, so it's more active management. It's probably going to be about the same amount of healing then, I would think, if you can use it more, but it heals less. Ursoc's Fury now grants an Absorb Shield for 30% of the damage dealt by Thrash and Maul, down from 40, so a little bit less passive mitigation, it feels like. Moonless Night increased to 40% from 20. Killing Blow causes Maul and Raze to deal up to 100% increased damage, up from 75. So a little bit of a more active mitigation for surviving and just damage buffs across the board. For Restoration, they've got notes here that read, the goal of these changes is to reduce Restoration Druid's power in dungeons. Saw this coming after watching some healer tier lists that this Restoration is going to get nerfed. They want to keep them at a similar power level in raids. This is primarily accomplished through reducing the effectiveness of their mastery and regrowth, while bringing up the effectiveness of wild growth and some raid-oriented talents. This is going to feel bad in PvP. Anything that's strong in raid is bad, means you're going to get very weak in PvP. We're also doing some targeted buffs for some weaker, unpopular talents for Restoration. So your mastery is getting nerfed by 20%. Intensity increases regrowth's critical healing by 60, down from 75, and remember the regrowth nerf above. Unstoppable Growth reduces wild growth's fall off by 30%. Improved wild growth increases the number of wild growth targets by 2, up from 1. And regenesis increases healing done by rejuvenation or tranquility by 30% per point, up from 15. And embrace the dream healing has been increased by 85%. Master Shapeshifter generates 20% more mana from Wrath, Starfire, and Star Surge. Probably going to be an important component in PvP. Nurturing Dormancy increases rejuvenation's duration by up to 6 seconds, up from 4. It's a little bit longer hot uptime. Obviously, just shifting away from direct healing and into kind of passive hots that where you're spamming those out on multiple targets is obviously going to help the balance between raid and dungeon. You'll be better in battlegrounds too with changes like that because you have more targets. I don't think. I mean, this 20% nerf here could be felt pretty badly, and honestly, like a lot of the regrowth healing could actually be major, especially with the tree form builds. For Evoker hero talents, Flame Shaper, Devastation, Consume Flame now consumed 4 seconds of fire breath from Pyre, down from 8, and 1 second of fire breath from disintegrate damage, down from 1.5. Consume flame damage is now dealt at 115% effectiveness, down from 125. So a little bit of a reduction there in terms of burst. For devastation, the 10% on disintegrate. That's it for Evoker. That's all we've got. I was really hoping for like a PP pass on preservation Evoker. Like feels like a lot of their cooldowns just do not heal, like rewind. For Hunter, developers notes, Beast Mastery is continuing to overperform across all content. So you're bringing down their baseline power and apex talent damage and making some smaller adjustments to individual trees. Marksmanship is getting a small bump in AoE, paired with a few buffs to underperforming spells like Killshot and Volley. For Survival, we are buffing up Wildfire Bomb's single target damage bonus to ensure it isn't being forgotten about in Pack Leader's single target rotation, and tamping down Sentinel since it's already overperforming and poised to gain a significant boost from Wildfire Bomb's single target damage. So for Beast Mastery on Dark Ranger, Shadow Thrash now deals shadow damage, but its damage has been reduced by 30%. Blighted Quiver now increases Beast Cleave and Kill Cleave effectiveness by 5%, down from 10. So just again, hero tree rebalancing. For Marksmanship, Pact of the Hollow now increases Blighted Arrow by 25%. For Pack Leader on Beast Mastery, they buffed the Boar area of effect damage by 200%. It's going to be a lot of AoE for Mythic Plus. Pack Mentality now grants 4 seconds of cooldown reduction to Barb Shot, down from 6, and increases Kill Command's damage by 25%, though, down from 50. So more passive damage, a little bit less active management with the cooldown reduction. For Survival, No Mercy bleed damage increased by 35%, up from 20, and the Boar area of effect damage increased by 200%. Let's see what the PvP changes come in for things like that Boar, because I feel like that's going to scale up pretty high. For Sentinel Survival, Sentinel's mark has been updated. Wildfire Bomb damage bonus reduced to 40%, down from 80. God dang. Can't Miss, Won't Miss has been updated. Tip of the Spear damage bonus reduced to 4 from 10. So a little bit, this is pretty substantial actually. Moon's Blessing now grants 4 seconds of Wildfire Bomb cooldown reduction, down from 6. So you might want to switch from Sentinel. A lot of focus on hero talent trees, but now the baseline class is for BM Hunter. Just a 12% nerf across the board on everything they do. Apex Talent, Nature's Ally, now increases the damage of Cobra Shot and Barbed Shot by 15, down from 30. That's massive. BM, this might be the death of BM. And I'm a bit worried in PvP because a lot of the damage was coming from the Stampede on the hero talent tree and not so much like your actual abilities. So I feel like BM could literally be dead maybe. I'll have to test that directly, but for Marksmanship, Volley's doing 25% more damage. Trick Shots got a 10% buff. Aspect of Hydra effectiveness got a 10% buff. Kill Shot damage increased by 25%, but not Black Arrow. Headshot now increases damage per stack by 3%, up from 2. Just a little bit of extra cleave. This will be nice in Mythic Plus. PvP, maybe if people are stacked up. Honestly, probably a lot with the Hydra if they're stacked. Survival, Wildfire Bomb primary target damage bonus increased to 60% from 40. So you're getting a little bit of a trade-off from that nerf up there here. This is just baseline. 2 against many damage bonus reduced to 10%, down from 15. So a little bit of a reduction. For Mage, for Frostfire, for Fire, oh my god, Frostfire, Fire, Frost. Heat Sink now increases Fire Blast damage by 15%, down from 30. Ooh. Dual Casting Adept now increases Pyro Blast damage, though, by 15, up from 10. So buffing Pyro, nerfing Fire Blast with this one. For Frostfire Frost Mage, Frostfire Damage Bolt is... Oh my god, Frostfire Bolt is getting nerfed by 20%. I'm worried about these changes because again, like unlike the DK, this is nerfing their actual just abilities they spam all the time. Although obviously Frostfire has like the stacking modifiers to this, but this isn't targeting the stacking modifiers; it's targeting the core ability, which I'm concerned. Isothermic Core's Meteor now shatters 1 freezing stack down from 2. Duality's Pyroblast damage increased by 100%. Molten Chill Ignite effectiveness increased by 30. So they buffed the fire portions of Frostfire for Frost. That was a very big handful of a sentence. But bringing down Frostfire Bolt, I think, is pretty big. I mean, at this point, you just do damage with Ray of Frost in PvP, so maybe it doesn't even really matter. For Spellslinger, Arcane, Controlled Instincts is being updated. Cleave percentage increased to 60% from 40. Arcane Splinter damage is being increased by 80%. I'm playing Arcane Spellslinger. Signature Spell now increases Arcane Pulse and Arcane Blast by 25%. We like that. I've actually been liking how much damage Arcane Blast has been doing recently. Polished Focus now increases Arcane Barrage damage by 25 from 50. Okay, that's a lot, bro. That's a lot. For Frost, Controlled Instincts effectiveness is being increased to 60%, up from 40. And for Sun Fury, Arcane Phoenix area spell damage increased by 50%. So even buffs to Sun Fury. For Arcane Soul duration, though, is being reduced from 6 to 4. Ashes of Inspiration haste reduced to 15 from 20. And duration reduced to 6 from 10. Sun Fury execution. So it's going to do a little bit of extra AoE damage, but it doesn't last as long or grant as big of a bonus. So honestly, a pretty substantial nerf. Sun Fury execution now grants Arcane Barrage 5% increased damage during Touch of the Magi, down from 10. And Glorious Incandescence now summons a meteor for every 6 stacks of Arcane Salvo consumed, up from 5. So again, more hero tree rebalancing. For Fire, Spellfire Sphere, chance to trigger increased to 25%, up from 20. Burden of Power now increases Flame Strike and Pyroblast damage by 5, down from 8. And Hyperthermia, oh, that's a big nerf. The Hyperthermia window is going down from 6 to 4. Ashes of Inspiration haste reduced to 15 from 20, and duration reduced to 6 was 10. So they were really trying to even out the hero tree with this. And then Arcane, oh my god, I was just saying things look good for you, and then oh my god, what just happened here in the core change? We're looking to reduce Sun Fury Arcane single target damage through the hero talent tree, as well as Arcane's baseline power. Spellslinger will be getting some buffs to compensate for the baseline ability reductions. Oh no, Arcane's AoE damage is further behind than we'd like, and we will be making some targeted adjustments to increase our output in dungeon content. So Arcane Barrage got 20% nerf. If you play Spellslinger, you're basically just back where you were. Missiles 20% nerf, Blast 20% nerf, Explosion 20% nerf. They said they want to buff their AoE, but they nerfed Arcane Explosion. Arcane Orb, though, is doing 60% more damage. Arcane Pulse is doing 10%. Arcane Surge is doing 25%. Arcane Cleave effectiveness increases 60 from 50. Resonance now increases Arcane Barrage's damage by 8% for each target beyond the first was 5. Touch of the Archmage has been updated. Damage taken during Touch of the Magi reduced to 15% down from 20. And Rune primary target damage bonus reduced to 75 from 100. So, I mean, you're basically just going to spec Spellslinger now. And I think you lost like a little bit of burst. It's my anticipation, at least for this. For Fire, we're taking some damage out of Fire Blast and Fireball and moving it into Pyroblast to ensure your hot streaks are hitting as hard as they should. So your Mastery for Ignite is getting buffed. I think that's good, 15%. Pyro gets a 15% buff, but Fire Blast is getting a 40% nerf. Scald now increases Fireball's damage only by 25, down from 50, and then the Frostfire nerf above. I like Fireball doing damage, man. At least in PvP, I like it doing damage. For Frost, we're looking to reduce the Frost area damage while increasing their single target damage. So this is the opposite of the Druid. This is going to make you better in PvP. You're just going to get a 5% damage buff increase. Shatter primary target damage increased by 40%. But Flurry, though, is getting a 20% nerf. Glacial Assault chance to trigger is being nerfed to 12 from 25. Oh my god, by almost half. Splitting Ice now causes Flurry and Frostbolt to strike an additional target for only 80%, down from 100%. Frozen Orb is getting a 20% nerf. Comet Storm now shatters 1 stack of freezing, down from 2. That's hard to say whether or not that, like, I guess, I mean, the shatter on the primary target and then the 5% this will likely feel pretty good, but the Flurry nerf kind of counteracts that a little bit, I think. For Monk, Master of Harmony for Brewmaster, Meditative Focus now increases Blackout combos increase to Tiger Palm by an additional 100%. Oh my god, the tanks, dude. You guys are just getting godly buffs. And increases Press the Advantage's nature damage by an additional 100%, up from 50. Way of 1,000 Strikes increases vitality stored by 60 up from 30, and Path of Resurgence increases vitality stored by 55 up from 25%. Aspect of Harmony now generates vitality based on 25% of damage dealt and 12% of effective healing, up from 15 and 7. My God. And then you're just Keg Smash 40% more damage, Tiger Palm 20% more damage, Blackout Kick 20% more damage, and Spinning Crane Kick 20% more damage. There's going to be a lot of tanks, bro. There's going to be a lot of tanks. Mistweaver. Jade Fire Teachings now increases Ancient Teachings by 260%, up from 180. And Way of the Crane will now transfer 160%. I can't believe you're getting buffed. This is going to be a monk patch, bro. This is going to be a Mistweaver patch for sure. 10,000%. Hero Talents, Herald of the Sun for Rhett. They're buffing Dawnlight by 120%. My God. Dawnlight radiates 5% of its damage and healing to nearby allies, though, down from 8. I don't know how to tell how much of a buff this is or not. I guess its direct damage is going to be incredibly high, at least. Fix an issue causing Sun's avatar damage effect to occur 0.5. I feel like this could be really hilarious. Maybe now I need to make a red. At least these changes are actually making me want, making me want to make something new and try something new. For Templar for Prot, Hammer of Light damage 100% increase. Empyrean Hammer damage increased by 50%. What? There's dude. I'm so scared. I don't know if I want to queue now. I'm so scared of the tanks. Ret Paladin, Hammer of Light, primary target damage increased by 30%. This change does not affect PvP. Why would you only nerf that for Ret? It's like you increased it by 100% for Prot. I'm so scared. Undisputed Ruling now lasts 10 seconds, up from 8. Seal of Templar now increases the damage of Templar's Verdict by 25, up from 15. They're obviously in PvP, they want people to shift from Templar to Herald. That's why I would imagine why they didn't nerf that at all, but they nerfed this. For Holy, these changes were posted last week, but we're including them again for posterity. They just buffed a bunch of your healing, instant healing, and they're not going to mess with the rework that they did because everybody decided that they liked it, basically. For Prot, Apex Talent, Glory of the Vanguard now increases Shield of Righteous damage to its initial target by 50%, up from 20. And the armor granted by Shield of the Righteous, though, is being reduced. So a little less durability, but way more damage. For Shadow Priest, on the Archon side of things, Halo got a 50% buff. My God. Halo. For Oracle Disc, Prompt Prognosis increases Penance's first bolt by 125%, down from 200. No, actually, Disc was not doing that good. You guys are gonna... The Prophet's Insight increases Atonement healing from holy spells by 15%, down from 20. Oracle is the one bastion of light, unironically. But, at least I'm giving you a little bit of help with Void Weaver. Collapsing Void damage 30% more. Entropic Rift 60% more. For Shadow, Quickened Pulse now causes Shadow Pain and Entropic Rift to deal damage 15% more often, down from 25. You are 100% moving off of Void Weaver Shadow into Halo for sure after that, unless there's baseline changes. For Discipline, though, at least they're buffing Shadow Man healing. It's like a proc. It's not happening a huge amount. Shadow or Death damage is getting a 25% buff, and Shadow or Death deals 215% damage in execute range, up from 150. You're getting a big execute, and they buffed all your healing at least by 8%. It's not all over. You did get something at least. But Shadow, oh no, 15% nerf. Mind Blast damage, though, increased by 40%. This also applies to Void Blast. Okay, so maybe some love here for Void Weaver. Shadow Word Pain is getting a 25% buff. Why are they nerfing all the damage then buffing? What spell do they think is hitting too hard that they're doing it like this? Vampiric Touch damage increased by 100%. Like, I read this and I'm like, oh no, it's over. And then I'm like, what? And then, I'm happy about that. I think it's good. The dots do damage. That's good. Psychic Link now transfers 60% of the damage, up from 45, and Spectral Horrors now causes Shadowy Apparitions to deal 50% increased damage, down from 100%. So Shadowy Apparitions, that's what they were afraid of. And so they went this route of nerfing everything and then buffing everything else, and I feel like you could have just nerfed the Shadowy Apparitions and then saved a step in here, but either way, I think it's just more of your actual direct damage is going to be more impressive. I think that's good. I think that's nice. A little bit of nerf. But then they also buffed Halo up here, so Halo will still hit hard. I don't know where I think Void Weaver is losing a little momentum, though. Rogue! Hey, my God. You guys are here. You guys have changes. Subtlety. Momentum of Despair effect now increases Shuriken Storm and Black Powder critical strike damage by 30%, up from 20. Follow the Blood now increases Shuriken Storm and Black Powder damage by 15 up from 10. Mass Casualty now deals 75% of Death Stalker's Mark's damage up from 60. So a little bit more extra AoE in this one for the hero talent tree. Fatebound Ravenholt's Mint increases Tails damage bonus by 12% down from 15. Lucky Coin duration reduced to 12 from 15. For Assassination, we see a 3% buff across the board, 10% of your auto attack damage. Physical damage dealt by implacable strikes increased by 50%. Doomblade bleed damage increased to 25% of mutilate damage, up from 20. Systemic failure increases the damage dealt by mutilate and ambush to targets of Garrote by 30%, up from 20. So a little buff. I think it's nice. I think it's good. What is this? They were going to buff all of the damage for Outlaw by 15%, and they said no. Why did they say no? Outlaw's performance on the beta has been hampered by a significant bug that is now fixed. This damage bonus was not needed to keep them competitive. We are also adjusting Blade Flurry to keep AoE damage as intended in light of these changes. I mean, it's good they caught the bug, but this is what I'm always afraid of, is like you're playing and you just don't even know if your character's working or not, if it's just bugged. Melee damage reduced by 10%. Blade Flurry causes your abilities to strike nearby enemies by 30% from 25. So they don't really like... Does that mean that the bug fix equals 15% damage, and that's why it's cut out? They don't really go into the specifics of that. Subtlety is getting an 8% damage reduction across the board, though. I think that's fine. Again, I think doing that, like little adjustments as we move through the weeks. You know, one guy's overperforming, a little bit down, a little bit up. Like, I think that's the most optimal way of doing it. And for Ellie, though, oh my God, Ellie, you guys just can't catch a break, at least in PvP. My God. 5% damage reduction and 10% on Lightning Bolt. I think Ellie is a no-go zone, at least for PvP, bro. Every time I see is just you guys are getting destroyed from Mythic Plus, I think, the tuning there. For Diabolist Warlocks, Infernal Bolt is getting a 150% increase. Ruination damage is getting a 50% increase, but not in PvP. I mean, this one's pretty massive. That's pretty big. Warlock was already eating good, bro. Soul Harvester, Shared Vessel now increases mastery by 2% down from 4. So another nerf to Soul Harvester. Manifested Demonic Soul's swipe damage reduced by 30%, but not in PvP. And Soul Anathema damage is reduced by 40%. So trying to rebalance Soul Harvester and Diabolist, at least for Demonology. Demonology, Demonic Soul damage reduced by 3%. For Affliction, the Apex talent Shadow of Nathriza now summons a Desperate Soul 100% more often. That's pretty good. Desperate Soul's Wrath of Nathriza's damage reduced, though, by 50%. And Dark Harvest is getting nerfed by 30. They don't compensate you at all? If there's no PvP changes for you, bro, Affliction is dead. You're dead. For Destro, 50% Incinerate damage. Conflagrate 40%, but not in PvP. Chaos Bolt 10%, but not in PvP. I mean, the Incinerate one is... It's gonna feel... I mean, I like buffing those spells. I think bringing up the filler damage in PvP will feel good. And Overfiend got a 50% buff, and Soulfire got a 40% buff. I mean, even though these didn't go through, like, bro, this is what Ellie needs in PvP. My God. Okay, this is a Destro week. For Warrior on Colossus, practices strikes damage bonus reduced to 20, increased to 20, and arterial bleed damage bonus reduced to 3% down from 5. Hard to say how much impact that's going to have. For protection, practiced strikes damage bonus increased to 15 up from 10. And for Mountain Thane Fury, they nerfed Thunder Blast by 30%, but they buffed Lightning Strike by 100%. For protection, ground current damage increased by 150, lightning strike increased by 50, thunder blast though reduced by 30. So I don't like blast, they like lightning more than thunder this time around. For Slayer, Arms Warrior, culling cyclone damage bonus increased to 20 up from 10. Warriors needed some help. I like that. Slayer's Malice bonus damage reduced to 15 from 20 though. And Reap the Storm's chance to trigger has been it's been reduced to 20. It was 50. Isn't that increased from 15 to 20? Or I guess it's a 5% lower proc rate. But I think that, I don't know if that's a typo or not. For Fury, Culling Cyclone damage bonus increased to 20 up from 10. And Slayer's Malice bonus damage reduced to 15 from 20. Now for the class baseline, Deep Wounds is getting a 30% nerf. Oh no, Warrior's dead, bro. Dreadnought damage 50% nerf. Cleave damage got a 20% buff. Blade Storm got a 30% buff. Mortal Strike got a 20% nerf. Execute got a 20% nerf. Arms Warrior Ellie Shaman. I'm sorry, guys. You just check out. Just check out now, bro. I don't think it's not getting better, bro. For Fury, auto attack damage reduced by 30%, but they buffed Bloodthirst by 10. They buffed Blade Storm by 30. They nerfed Raging Blow by 20. My God, just you're donezo, Warriors. You're donezo. This is a retirement week. Protection, Shield Slam reduced by 20%, and Execute reduced by 20%. This is the first time the tank space getting nerfed. Ignore Pain damage prevented per use increased, though, by 5%. Fueled by Violence, healing increased to 110% of Rend and Deep Wounds, up from 85. So more sustainability, but less damage. Indomitable increases max health by 10% from 6 and heals 1% of your health for each 15 rage spent, down from 20. And then for PvP, no compensation to Warrior, no compensation to Ellie, dude. They nerfed the boar damage, which I think this is probably going to be necessary because they buffed it by 200% up above. But they didn't nerf the Stampede. So I have to see. I feel like BM Hunter's literally just only, it was already only Stampede, but now it's like really only Stampede. And then Arcane, they actually deleted Nether Flux. I'm actually impressed by this because they introduced this at the end of the War Within, and it's just created this like cooldown modifier stacking one shot, and it's like that's the gameplay that I feel like they've been trying to move away from. So being able to assess that and be like, hey, this talent's attributing to degenerate gameplay, so let's just get rid of it, and then we can move forward, because I think it's important. Like, you got to be open to experiment with things. Let's try an idea. It's cool. Let's throw it in there, see how it goes. Okay, it didn't work. Realize when it doesn't work and get out of there. So I think that's actually good. For Subtlety Rogue, Secret Techniques Shadow Clone strikes now correctly have damage reduced by 23%, matching the reduction applied to the initial strike. So a little bit of a nerf. The 8% nerf and that, I think that's a fair amount to bring Subtlety Rogue down by, but like, my God, bro, no compensation for this on Warrior? Like, that's a 20% reduction. Bro, what? Like, that's just like, oh my God, bro, I would have loved to see some PvP changes for, or like, this isn't in PvP for Warrior and for Ellie at least, because like, that is rough, bro. That is a rough week to be an Ellie or Warrior. It's a good week to be a Warlock. Seems like it's just a good, just pick a Warlock, bro. Just play a Warlock. I don't know what else to tell you. After seeing these changes, just play a Warlock. But I hope you guys enjoyed the update here. Thank you guys very much for tuning into the video, and I will see you in the next one.